Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wench Bench podcast, where badass bitches talk about badass bitches that influence them throughout their life. I'm not a badass bitch. I'm Adam.
And I'm Alison.
And I'm Fonda, and this is my husband. Today, Adam is going to be talking about Kitiara from the Dragonlance book series.
Correct.
Okay, so I know very little. I know some things because you have multiple Dragonlance books. Alison, do you know anything about Dragonlance?
I do not.
Okay, can you give us... I don't know where you're going to start with, but do you mind giving us a too long, didn't have a chance to read over 50 books?
Yeah, no, I'm not 50. Kitiara Uth Matar is her full name. I'll just call her Kit for short, probably throughout this.
Okay.
And she's my favorite. She's from my favorite fantasy book series called Dragonlance. I'm happy to plug the series because, like everyone I talked to got into fantasy through either R.A. Salvador's Forgotten Realms or Tolkien. But for me, this was my first series, so it's precious.
Cool.
If you haven't read these before, I suggest them if you like corny-ass D&D type D&D. They're a lot easier to read than Forgotten Realms, like Fonda.
Yes.
I know the first one had a lot of stupid drow names.
It was really hard for me to piece together just because it's very complex. And then I'm like, am I saying it wrong the whole time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, Dritzt. I remember talking to Emily, and she's like, Drizzit, and we're just like...
Sure.
I don't blame you for mispronouncing the name because I probably would have also done the same thing if Adam hadn't told me preemptively how to say these really complex fantasy names.
Fantasy names.
Yeah. And I was also talking to you a bit, Alison, about, I guess you mentioned on your recent episode about XX Broken Dream XX.
Yes!
Alison mentioned she just got the recent Fizban's Treasury of Dragons.
Yeah!
Now, Fizban himself is like a doddering old archmage from this series.
Cool.
He's probably my favorite as a kid because he was really funny. I won't talk about him today, though.
He's in so just as like a little plug, Adam and I watched a Dungeons and Dragons movie. It's literally called Dungeons and Dragons.
No, I bought the Dragonlance movie, which is a cartoon, and it is terribly good.
It's so bad. But Fizban is in it at one point, and they're locked up in a cage, and he just goes, knock! And you just see, like, a spell unlock the thing. Yes. And I was just like... Oh, okay. I knew what we were in for when that happened.
Nice. Those are the best.
Yeah.
So keep going. Tell us about this world.
Yeah. I'll give a bit of a primer. So, the Dragonlance setting was made in the 80s by Margaret Weiss and Tracy and Laura Hickman, who based the world off of a TTRPG game they played with their coworkers at TSR Inc.
Okay.
TSR Inc. was the original publisher of D&D before it was bought by Wizards of the Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So the game that they played inspired them to make module games, and then also this series of books, which has been expanded a lot since.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
So a lot of authors have written for the series over time, but the central story is written by Margaret Weiss
Is it
and
kind of
Tracy Hickman.
like Star Wars, where sometimes like fans can make one-off novellas or novels?
Yeah, so there's like
you
canon.
can purchase, and then there's the one by the core author.
Yeah, I think so. There's like canon short stories or short novels that kind of supplement the main chronicle.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Admittedly, it's been a while since I've read all of them, and there's a few, so I apologize for any mistakes or generalities. About to prepare, I reread Dragons of a Highlord's Skies, which is one that focuses on Kitiara a lot more than the others.
Oh, okay. It has a blue dragon on it. And I'm guessing Kitiara is the one holding a lance?
She's the lady in blue.
Yes.
On the cover.
Neat.
First off, love her armor. Can I just say?
Yeah.
As the fact Alice and I talk a lot about weird armor choices and clothing, I really like that she looks practical.
Yeah,
in what she's wearing.
She could actually fight dragons and monsters.
Yeah, like she's covered head to toe. Well, not head. Her head.
She has a helmet. It's just not on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she's covered head to toe.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into her armor in a little bit.
Oh.
Well, not... So, generally, for the story that we're working in, sorry about spoilers, but that's what this show is.
Yeah.
In the world of Kryn, on the continent of Ansalon, the story follows an unlikely group of companions who meet up in the town of Solis to fulfill an old pact to gather in 5 years' time. So Kitiara is the only one of the group who doesn't show up at that time. Then through a series of events, those companions that were there got involved in an ongoing war where the armies of the evil dragon queen Tikhisis are attempting to conquer the world. Tikhisis is like Tiamat, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then enter stage left, Kitiara, who in the 5 years since has become the Blue Lady, the Dragon Highlord of Tikhisis' Blue Dragonflight army.
Oh, so she's going like against her friends that she had the pact with. I see.
Everyone split up to follow their own goals, and she very much just followed her own path of doing what she had to do to survive, right? And yeah, she ends up directly against them.
Cool.
Very cool. Call back to Wench Bench episode 8.
Oh.
Captain Phasma. If you love cold-hearted women, check that one out.
Love the callbacks.
Yeah.
Love a cold-hearted woman.
This is a first. Keep going. I'm here for it.
You don't reference your own episodes?
No, not really.
Rarely.
Unless it's like directly related to it.
I like the Phasma one a lot.
It was a good one. It was a good one, Alison.
Okay. So I thought, because we actually see all through her lifespan through the series of the books, so maybe we can just go from beginning to end, and that would be a good way to go about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Cool. So she was born in the nation of Slomnia, a country generally known for their knightly order, the Knights of Slomnia. These guys are as traditional knights as you can imagine. They have squires, and they have this rigid code of chivalry known as the Measure.
Ooh.
They all have big mustaches that they take a lot of pride in keeping well kept and groomed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fancy.
Yeah. The kid's father, Gregor Uth Matar, was a knight of the order. Tall, dark, and handsome. He had a roguish smile, but he was also frequently in trouble and debt and was a womanizer.
Oh.
So he was, it doesn't say specifically why, but he was dismissed from the knighthood for disgraceful behavior related to a woman.
Oh no. Wow.
Soon after she was born, Kitiara, Gregor, and her mom, Rosamund, moved to the city of Solis, which is outside of Slomnia.
Just to check, is she a human in this world?
Human, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't want to assume.
Most people are humans. If not, I will specify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
She really took up after her dad as she grew up with similar curly hair and the same roguish smile, and her personality and mindset is very much so influenced by her dad.
Oh. Would she also be a womanizer then?
In a way, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to check. Women can also be not great to other women. So.
After being kicked out of the order, Gregor made a living as a mercenary, so he frequently left town to go to work on mercenary type jobs. He even took Kit with him when she was 7 years old to experience her first battle.
Oh no!
He taught her to use a sword.
Great dad.
Great dad. I think she actually has fond memories of it. So,
hey, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
If you can look back and it's been a good childhood experience for you, who's to say otherwise?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna what's the word?
Judge?
Judge. I was gonna say yuck your yums, but that's not the right context in this situation.
Super not.
Judge. It is
Yeah.
judge. Not gonna judge.
he is generally a shitty guy, though. When
your little grin when you were saying that, like, oh, here we go.
he eventually got tired of his quaint little life in Solis, so after they returned from that, he packed up his stuff and left and never returned.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Is the mom okay?
Yeah. The following year, she remarried a woodcutter.
Oh.
She had a pair of twins.
Oh.
So, Raistlin and Caramon, which would be kids, half-siblings. But after the birth, the mom's health deteriorated a lot. So Kitiara taught herself to do a lot of the housework and stuff around the house.
Okay.
Rosamund rarely made any effort to spend time with Kit, as if she was uncertain how to act towards this very self-sufficient girl who acted as like a surrogate mother for the household half the time.
Was it also because maybe she like resembled the man that left her?
Yeah, I think that was part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm surprised how much Kit still adored her dad even after he left. She very much looked up to him as a warrior or a leader, and lots of times throughout the book, from her perspective, she thinks back to things that he taught her. So
That's interesting. I feel like that doesn't happen a lot. Usually when someone like leaves your family, is a womanizer, got removed from a mercenary knightly group.
she knew that her dad cheated on her mom, and she had to cover for him.
Oh, fun. See, I was about to say, like, yeah, well, you know, children usually see their parents through rose-colored glasses, but guess that's not really an excuse here.
It's surprising to me, because usually in most fictions and things we read, what has happened wouldn't normally make someone 100% still, like, look up to the parental figure. They might in some ways be like, oh, like, generally speaking, had a good dad or a good mom, but like I know they were shitty in this aspect. But the fact that there were multiple things that she clearly was aware of is interesting.
I think that she just had a really good relationship with her dad when he was there. Like, they spent a lot of time together. When he left behind his favorite horse, Cinnamon, for her, and a note saying that I'm leaving, but maybe I'll be back one day, and know that your dad loves you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But he never came back, so.
Yeah. And well, if she had never developed a relationship, a particularly close relationship with her mom, then that may be a part of it too, right? Like if you're closer to your dad and then he leaves and then your mom gets sick, it sounds like a year in the life of a child is a pretty rapid, like, oh, now all of a sudden I have this new dad and now there's new babies around, and it's like,
and I need to
be an adult. There can be a lot of like resentment and
That's true.
Yeah.
distance that can cause. So I get it.
Can I
like it.
Interject and just say I love when animals are named after spices.
Oh, it's adorable.
Or food. It's just, I really like it.
Yeah.
So kudos to the horse being named
A
Cinnamon.
cat being named after oatmeal. Right? Yeah. I was listening to that today. So after the twins were old enough to generally be on their own, Kit left to be in her life as a mercenary. She was 13 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So still young.
Still young.
Still maturing.
She did come back periodically with money and gifts for her siblings, but generally she kept herself busy out on the road and busy with all sorts of men.
Ooh.
So I'm going to say that is not a womanizer per se, but
The trait of
A manizer.
a manizer. A manizer.
a menizer.
A manizer. Why is it so weird to say? Cool. Okay, let's just keep going. I can't fuck with this word.
On one of her adventures, she met Tanis Half-Elven. He's not human, he's half-elf.
Is that his? I thought that was his last name.
No, his last name's Half-Elven. Why is he not half-human? I guess there's some bias there, but...
And he's half elf, half human?
Yeah.
That's so fucking funny.
That's awesome.
I feel like it's a placeholder name and it just stayed.
So he rushed to her aid to save her from some hobgoblins, only to discover she wasn't really in trouble, she was just toying with them.
Oh,
Nice.
But they got to know each other, and by that I mean became lovers. Then when they returned to Solus, Kit found the place a little bit more interesting with Tanis there and some more friends, so she hung around, and they eventually became to be known as the Companions.
Nice.
Group that were there.
The group name was the Companions?
Yeah.
Very on point.
I just want to interject here is that this was written D&D in the 80s. So this was before all of the tropes really came out, right? Like this influenced
Yeah.
a lot of them. So yeah, this book definitely has things where it's kind of corny, but I think that's just because you're reading back a lot.
Does it add to the charm?
I like it. Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Yeah. And sometimes it's fun to see where things like that come from. Like, that's why I like watching a lot of old movies, is I can watch an old horror movie and it's like, oh, this is where that came from. And it's like, like, this is the first time that somebody washed their face and stood up and the bad guy was behind them in the mirror. Like, but now that's a very common trope and it's in all sorts of stuff. But to get to watch, like, the first instances and to get to experience the first instances can be a fun way of exploring things that you like, which is cool.
Yeah. After some time, everyone seemed to have something they wanted to pursue. Some of them heard growings of evil and wanted to go
Whispers of evil.
explore the whispers of evil. So they all split up at that time, but agreed to meet up at the inn of the last home in 5 years' time, which is where we started. At this time, Tanis broke up with Kit, and she was furious.
Oh
no.
Yeah.
Why did he break up with her?
I think they wanted to do different things.
Oh, okay, that's a valid reason.
Tanis is kind of very self-righteous in a way, as he was growing.
Okay.
But so Kitiara ended up going north to Solamnia with another of her companions, Sturm Brightblade.
These are some... I love it. These are some D&D-esque fantasy names.
Sturm Brightblade.
Yeah.
Does he have a blade that's bright and shiny?
He does get one.
Nice.
Yeah. He goes north to see... He says comes from a Solamic knight family.
Okay.
Even though he isn't one. So he goes north to reclaim, like, his family honor.
Cool.
And he gets a cool set of armor and weapon.
Okay, very neat.
Frustrated with her feelings of Tanis, she does end up seducing him before they part ways.
Nice.
She found out afterwards she was pregnant with his child.
Scandalous.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
So after she banged...
So it's a half human, half elf.
No, Sturm Brightblade is all human.
She seduced Brightblade.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. Oops.
Yeah.
I thought she seduced.
No, with Sturm's child.
Oh, so a full
How
human
else do you
baby.
get over a bad breakup?
You
Than sleeping with somebody else.
Yeah, a close friend.
Oh no. Okay, keep going.
It gets juicier. So she ends up delivering the baby, bang on midwife's door. She names the child Steel Brightblade, which I think is a big pun. And then left him with the midwife and promised to get her later. She never did.
Oh, it was a female baby?
It was a male.
Oh. You said promise to get her later.
Him from her.
Okay. Just wanted to check.
Edit it out! Yeah, she never went back for him, but she did occasionally send money.
Okay, that's something.
Doesn't count.
That's
I think
something, for
technically,
sure.
at this point in her life, she's had 2 children.
Wow.
One was, it doesn't say anything really about, but at one point she did get pregnant before she went back to Solus with Tanis.
Okay.
So I don't know too much about it,
Okay.
but
Was she still quite young at that point? Because she's left to do stuff at 13.
she's probably mid-20s at this point.
Okay. Which, if you're thinking of old fantasy time period,
Yeah.
that's
Medieval sort of
common.
stuff.
That's common,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She obviously never wanted to mother the children, though.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think she had had enough of that, being forced to mother her siblings.
Yes. Yes. And wanting to have her own life.
Yes.
Cool. I call this the middle stage of life. After she was better from the pregnancy and the child, she heard about a growing army, so she went to join it. And more or less, she used her skill to grow up through the ranks and eventually became the leader of the Blue Dragonarmy. So at this point, the dragon on the cover is her companion Sky. She actually rides it into battle. And her blue armor is made from blue dragon scales.
Oh, that's
Is that
fucking
a conflict
awesome.
of interest? Or is it like they had died in battle and it's okay for her to take the blue scales from a fellow blue dragon?
Can't say. Blue dragons do die eventually.
That, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, chromatic dragons in lore are not great creatures.
Yes.
So I'm sure it wouldn't care if it was from a different blue dragon.
This book draws a hard line between chromatics are all evil and the metallics are all good.
Okay.
Oh, there's
okay,
no
cool.
gray? Like, no...
Basically, no. I mean, they're all intelligent creatures in their own right,
Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that... Okay, now I get to why you were like, we'll talk about her armor later.
Yeah. So the Blue Dragonarmy was tasked with conquering Solamnia, a land that she knew fairly well. And her success in battle after battle led her to be one of the most prominent Highlords. So her army is said to be the best trained and the most loyal.
Wow.
To a point that later, when the leader of all the dragon armies was questioning her, he had to keep in the back of his mind, what if she revolted, because he knew she could take her army with her.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting thing, because I feel like that doesn't always happen with a female character. It's usually like if someone's really loyal, it's like a handful of people. And then if there's like a really, really loyal army, it's usually to like a masculine male figure. And then I feel like more recently, I thought that we were starting to get more female characters, like when you think of J.R. Martin's, like, Game of Thrones, you know, Queen of Dragons. She got a bunch of people that believed and had faith with her and were super loyal. And to know that this is a much older book that had that in it, I think is really nice for me, because at least in what I read, it's not as common.
Yeah, it is so refreshing to see how competent she is. She still has flaws, which we're going to get into later. And everyone loves a character with flaws.
Everybody does.
But she's, at least in the aspect of her as a commander, is top notch. I actually have a quote here of Sky when he was thinking from this book, and it just kind of says something. Although it also talks about her flaws.
Oh, okay. And this is Sky the dragon she rides. Okay.
Sky revered Kitiara as few dragons in the history of Krynn had revered a human. He honored Kitiara's courage. He could personally attest to her skill and her intelligence when it came to warfare. He credited her tactics and strategy with having conquered much of Solamnia, and he was convinced that if Kitiara had been in charge of the war instead of Ariakis, they would have now been taking their ease in the conquered city of Palanthes. Kitiara was calm and cold-blooded, masterful and courageous in battle. But when it came to her personal life, she gave in to her wayward passions and let desire master her. She went from lover to lover, using them and discarding them. She thought she was in control of these affairs, but Sky knew better. Kitiara thirsted for love as some thirst for dwarf spirits. She needed men to adore her, and even when she no longer loved them, they were supposed to continue to love her.
Wow.
I like her.
That's so cool.
That's a good quote, Adam. Good find. I mean, I know you read it, but good plug.
Thank you. Yeah. So it definitely shows how she is just so, like I said, competent at what she does, but
Yeah.
cool.
A
So
weakness for men.
A weakness
Yeah.
for love, and I won't love you, but I expect you to still love me when I'm gone. That is an interesting flaw.
and it's gonna get into her downfall.
Oh no!
So Kitiara was called back from the front lines in response to the death of another Dragon Highlord, Lord Verminard, at the hands of a ragtag group of adventurers. She realized those were her companions that were tagged into the war.
Oh no!
So she was tasked with investigating the Highlord's death. So she confirmed it was indeed her companions, and that Tanis was traveling with his former girlfriend, the elven princess Lorana.
How dare!
Oh no!
Overcome with jealousy, especially after hearing Lorana was more beautiful than her,
Oh no!
she became quite obsessed with the two's relationship and stalkerish about Lorana.
Oh no!
She wanted to kill Lorana so bad, and at one point got very close to doing so.
Oh my god, I feel bad for this Lorana. I feel like you know when you don't know someone's ex, and like you don't realize they're eccentric is the word I'm going to use. It can make things very complicated and unsettling. Clearly, by Kitiara wanting to kill her.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Yeah. Some shit happened, and at this time, the leader of the dragon armies, Ariakis, discovered that she was related to the group that killed Verminard, and sentenced her to death for treason.
The fuck?
Is that how she? Is this it? Is this it?
That's dumb. He's dumb.
That's not good. That's not going to bode well.
She was able to escape with the help of a wizard.
Okay.
And later regain her position by convincing the Death Knight Lord Soth to ally with the Dragon armies.
Is that who's on the front of the cover?
This is the Death Knight Lord Soth on the cover.
Okay,
Very
for
cool.
people that don't know, I'm just going to quickly describe the cover. Okay, so it's in an icy mountainscape. You see the blue dragon sky that's like clambering over a mound of snow/ice. Behind is this man who's holding and crossing his arms, and he has a big broad chest and a raggy looking red cape. And you can see like a glint of red glowing eyes behind the helmet. And then you see Kitiara, who's wearing a really cool blue dragon armor covered head to toe, holding a really cool lance and a chromatic looking orb, looking off into the distance.
What wordplay, Fauna? Thank you.
You're welcome.
We were all supposed to picture of the cover.
Yeah. The book's Dragon of the Highlord Skies, if anyone wants to Google it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell me about this Death Knight.
The Death Knight. So she actually escaped from death and had to travel to a faraway land in the north of Solamnia. So Dragonlance is kind of based in a world post a cataclysm when all the gods left the world.
Oh.
And Takesis is like the first one really to return, and she's the evil one, so she's conquering everything.
Okay.
So just before or at the time of the cataclysm, he was a well-known, revered Solamic knight, but I'm not exactly sure on the details anymore. I think he found out that his elven wife cheated on him. Oh. So when his castle went up in flames, he did not save his wife and his child.
Ooh.
So
Not even his child?
gods cursed him to basically live forever in this place, and then all these elven banshees, sing at him nonstop throughout the night. And instead of repenting, he just said, "Fuck you, I'm going to live in this forever."
Oh, that's a bold move.
Yeah, so this is
move.
going forever, and Takesis knows that he has undead armies at his disposal. So he said, "I'm only going to follow the person who spends a night in my keep and lives."
Oh.
So
And she does.
And she does.
Wow.
Good for her.
I would not last. I would not. At all.
In the actual book, she doesn't last a night. She lasts 10 minutes in a fight against him and almost dies. And then he's like, "Yeah, okay, you're good." It's how I read it.
Oh,
But I think he just admired her a lot for, so dragon fear is a thing, right? You don't see it as much when we were playing 5e, but, people get paralyzed when you come across a dragon for the first time in their intimidating presence. It's almost the same for an undead Lord Knight.
Yeah.
I think that most people literally die of terror just at seeing him. Okay. So to actually fight him was quite impressive.
Got you. Okay, so he then supports her.
Yeah. So he supports her, and she goes back and with his support, and he follows her around.
Did Sky stay with Kitiara throughout the whole thing, from her being sentenced and then?
When Kitiara was sentenced to death, Lord Ariakis sent her armies elsewhere, knowing that something might happen. So Sky wasn't there, and then she rejoined with Sky after she got her position back.
Okay.
Sky would have probably gone and died for her, but I think he probably knew something was up and was like, "Don't go," and she went anyways. So.
Okay.
So what happens to Arabicus?
Arrakis?
Arrakis.
Arrakis.
Ariakis.
Arrakis.
There it is.
Yeah. So he keeps being the leader of the general armies, and he kind of just misses her competence, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He starts double questioning his decision later on. He's like, "We'll just come back."
We'll just come back. I was wrong to sentence you to treason for your past.
Yeah. So,
Even though you've clearly shown your loyalty by fighting against your friends.
Yeah.
But,
after this, Kitiara is sent for a mission that he gives her, and she ran into Tanis, who was separated from his group and disguised as one of her soldiers. She thinks that he had been enlisted in her army, so they quickly rekindled their relationship, but she had to leave to go finish conquering Solamnia. So, in the next battle, she actually runs into a lot of her other remaining companions. and she ends up fighting and killing Sturm Brightblade. Her baby daddy.
Her baby daddy!
Baby daddy.
Oh no, Steel Brightblade! Oh no, the poor boy!
Now he'll never know his mother or father.
Nope.
Oh no!
The makings of a true hero.
I think he's a protagonist in one of the later books.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they end up ultimately losing the battle because that's when the side of good gets the Dragonlances, which are super effective versus dragons, and a lot of other stuff happens.
That's why it's called Dragonlance.
And then when she returned from that battle, she found that Tanis had left her and escaped with an important prisoner named Barum.
Who's Barum?
Barum, TLDR, has a green gemstone in his chest and is the key to sealing Takissa's back away. So all of the Dragon armies were searching for him, but didn't know why.
So very important.
Very important.
Okay.
Yeah, so now Kit is about to be
Raged.
sentenced to death again for losing too many battles and for letting this guy escape.
Oh no.
So Lord Soth stands up for her and she has a plan. So she ends up tricking and capturing Lorana, who at this point was a general for the army aside of good.
Ooh.
But she sends a false message to Lorana saying, using Tanis' name, saying he was gravely injured and wanted to see her before he died.
Sneaky.
Clever.
Yeah, she's very conniving. So she ends up capturing Lorana and holding her captive as a hostage and demanding the return of Barum and the surrender of the opposing army. Somehow Kitiara meets with Tanis again, and he offers to serve her if she would release Lorana. She agreed to this, but she had already in advance decided the only way to make Tanis totally hers was to make him watch as she destroyed Lorana. So she planned to have Lorana killed and her soul given to the Death Knight Lord Soth.
Oh my god! What a bitch. I love it.
Just anything related to relationship with Tanis fucks her up completely.
Oh my god.
But she's so good at everything else, which is so fascinating.
Oh my god. So she actually must be in love with him in some capacity.
He's the only man that turned her away. And
so it's
that
an
people
obsession.
are supposed to keep loving her, and he's the one she can't hang on to.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cool. So this all happened. There was an altar, and Lorana was chained up in front of Takissis, and Tanis was there to, be like, oh, you're serving me, I'm gonna let her go. As that was all happening, Tanis basically turned the tables and struck down Oriakis and took his crown of power, which was like he ruled the dragon armies. So,
Like that's how he could control them, was with the crown?
I'm not sure if it was symbolic
Oh, okay.
Anyways. So in the following scuffle, the crown was lost, but Tanis and Lorana escape. Kit chased them down and offered Tanis his final chance to be by her side, saying, hey, Lord Soth is coming for your Lorana's life. And Tanis said he'll die to protect her. So she ended up letting them fully escape.
She let them escape?
Yeah. Well, she's the one who killed Tanis.
I know, but I guess I'm just surprised considering what she wanted to do earlier.
Yeah.
But 5 moments ago in this conversation.
Well, because if Lord Soth was going to kill Lorana, then he would have had to kill Tanis too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
So he mocked her for that, but Kitiara claimed that by letting the two escape, she would always live in Tanis' heart, which would forever poison his relationship with Lorana.
She's demented.
Oh my god! This woman!
I think it was a bad excuse, personally.
Yeah. But whatever you gotta do to do what you gotta do.
That's true.
I feel... Oh, man.
I love Kitiara, and it's great. Side note is that Tanis and Lorana got married and lived happily ever after.
Oh, that's nice.
So after the climax of the war, Kitiara was able to recover the crown of power and become the leader of all the dragon armies.
Nice.
What a woman.
Yeah. In her next
What a wild woman.
I know. A roller coaster of in power, about to die, in power. Yeah. In her next big conflict, this was known as the Blue Ladies' War.
Oh.
She led the dragon armies to stop her half-brother, Raistlin, who was a super powerful
He's
mage,
back.
who was on his quest to defeat Takhisis and take her place as a god.
Oh, so all the siblings are wild.
Raistlin is very similar to Kitiara in the way that they would do anything for power.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, what up?
There's different colors of robes to represent the mages, and it shows where they get their power from, like which god. So there's the white robes, and then red for neutral, then black robes. Raistlin starts with the red robe, and then eventually later takes the black robes to get more power.
Oh.
So,
What a dude.
yeah.
Cool.
Believing that she would be greatly rewarded for her service, she tried to stop Raistlin. And it was there that Kitiara was mortally wounded in a fight and was then betrayed by Lord Soth, who has become obsessed with her and plans to bind her soul for eternity in place of Laurana, which he was promised and never received. Somehow Tanis was there again.
Again!
He just keeps coming back.
And Kitiara,
Like a boomerang. Just bring her Tanis.
and Kitiara begged him to protect her from Lord Soth. It seems though he would have died to protect Laurana, he did not feel the same way about his ex-lover.
I can understand why.
I get that, yeah.
That's so interesting because this is the first time you've talked about her like begging someone else to do something to like help her, save her, because you said she's so competent and
Yeah, very self-sufficient, right?
Wow.
But yeah.
the dire moments.
Yeah, so she did die, although her soul disappeared before Lord Soth could bind it.
Okay.
But after she died, he retreated, and so did all his undead armies. And then all the dragon army was defeated, and everyone was on their merry way.
And everybody lived happily ever after. Until the next tyrant raised up and started destroying stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that was her full life from 1 to 39, I think, is she what she died at.
Oh, wow.
Late 30s.
Yeah, a lot of life lived in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why I like her is, in my opinion, she's the most badass female in the book. She carries herself with such confidence and has cleverness and a skill in battle to back it up, right? He's kind of like Conor McGregor. He talks shit and he's a good, used to be a good fighter.
Used to be a good fighter. Until his talking shit got in the way of his fighting.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
It's easy to get knocked out when your head's so big.
And you know, like, she can hold herself. She carries herself like a man and doesn't have any, like, feminine pretenses. She doesn't try and have, like, that demure. But she's also, in her own way, super seductive and knows how to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
It's always very interesting when there is in media like this, because throughout her life she's clearly a woman in love with, at moments, men, and then doesn't care and then obsesses over one man, but the fact that she's very much so like masculine but knows, probably because of her dad, how to use her feminine wiles. I find that a very interesting mesh, because sometimes it can be done in a really weird way, and it sounds like, at least how you've talked about it, it wasn't done in like a weird, like, oh, she's the guy's guy, but then she's also really sexy and attractive. It's like she's like,
Yeah. At one point, she slept with Ariakis to cement her, position in his favor, but that was never like something that defined how she got her power, right? It was always her competence, and that was just extra, I suppose, right?
Yeah, just a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
As I'm older, I really appreciate like the depth of her character when you see the decisions that she makes is because she's very human and influenced by her emotions, as opposed to just having like one ununderstandable weakness or flaw. Yeah. And I think deeper down, I also connected with her a little bit, since she's a older half sister of the twins, and when I was younger, I have an older half sister, and she was stronger and more mature than me. So probably that was like
a part of it.
maybe part of it.
it's like, yes, my sister could also kick my ass. I love his sister dearly. I just want to say.
She did kick my ass.
She did.
Yeah. Cool. Any questions?
I have many.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been asking them more than Alison. So, Alison, I'll let you take the reins.
So I always like to find out, like, the first moment when you were like, I'm all in on this character. Like, that's one of my favorite times. I remember all those turning points for a lot of the characters that I've talked about. It's just like, oh my god.
This is the hill I die on.
This is amazing, and their flaws no longer matter to me, and I love them forever. So can you think of, like, was there a moment like that for you, or was it kind of just like an all-encompassing?
Well, before it was just cool to see a character that they all knew and related to, but was so directly in their path against them and wasn't afraid to do anything. Maybe if there was a turning point, it was... So there's another little side series about the twins when they're growing up and their life as a child in Solace.
Okay.
And I get that includes Kit, and maybe just seeing more of a personal side of her was really cool.
Okay. Yeah. Let you connect with her on a more emotional level instead of just a badass.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes in. I'm all in on... I don't know. Yeah.
I'm curious if there was ever something that Kit had done throughout the series that you were just like, nope, I think you're badass, I think you're cool, but this is something I'm going to be like, that's not great, Kit. It's like...
Oh my god. So... No, it's fine, but like seeing how in a position she is and knowing what happens and rereading this book and how she... obsesses over Tannis and how she just goes down this spiral of events that's like she could have avoided that and made her life so much easier, right? There's a point when she first finds out that her group wasn't responsible for killing Verminard and they were going to the city called Tarsus, which was going to be destroyed by a bunch of red dragons. She flies her army over there to like observe the attack. She lands down in the middle of the firefight and she goes around in like, you know, takes off her armor so that she can kind of blend in. She walks around like in the ground of the city that's going up in flames to try and find this group, and she sees Lorana, and at this point she and some of her other companions, so she enlists a group of nearby Draconians, which are Dragonborn that are made from dragon eggs, and basically distracts them with an attack and captures Lorana and pulls her off to the side, thinking that she'll be able to kill her really quick, but Lorana fights back and bites her hand and scraps. And then instead of just easily slitting her throat and moving on and having her way, right, she like gives her a warning, and then some people come and then she runs off. And you're like, man, just make it fast and easy.
Yeah.
That seems like, that was one where I just...
Don't gotta be so dramatic about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So out of curiosity, why blue dragons for her? Was it just like they happened to be the first sort of dragon that she had a connection to and it was just easier that way? Or was there a reason why she had the Blue Dragonarmy?
When she signed up for the war, that was just the army that she was assigned to. Probably because that she came from Slomnia. And that's where they were fighting. So that was probably the closest one. But there's a dragonfly for each of the armies.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Cool.
I only ask because I know that the blue dragons are the intelligent ones in this series, right?
Blue dragons are probably the most intelligent. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And then white are the dumbest. So dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like puppies.
Oh.
Like evil puppies.
Evil puppies.
Speaking of puppies.
Hello, puppy. Hello, puppy.
Oh my gosh. Dang, man. I'm kind of sad she died. It would have been cool if you would have been like, and there's more books with her in them after this, because we don't know what happened to her soul.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't all happen in this book. This happens over a series of, like 7 books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the main chronicle is 3, and then this is a little series that takes place between those to describe like background events that happen that weren't explained.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Which is why it focuses on her and not the main companions.
Yeah. No, that's super cool.
Cool. As Fonda always quotes long passages from articles she reads, I found one. It was authored by Lauren Davis on Gizmodo about why Dragonlance should be made into a film.
Oh.
And here she talks about wonderful female characters. And I agree with this fully. I think in retrospect, Laurana would have been a great person to do an episode on. It says, granted, 2 of the strongest female characters, Kitiara Uth Matar and Princess Laurana, are rivals for the heart of Tanis Half Elven, but their status as romantic rivals isn't what makes them compelling characters. I'll admit that reading the books as a preteen, I admired Kitiara, who was sexy and manipulative and attracted some of the most powerful male characters in the book, but also respected as a military leader and seen as a peer by a mighty dragon. Laurana, however, gets the more significant arc after starting out as a lovelorn girl with a romantic view of the world. As she's thrust into a war-torn Ansalon, however, Laurana proves to be a confident fighter and a military leader in her own right, one who watches friends die, who sees herself shunned by her family, but who marches on tirelessly to protect Kryn from the forces of Takesis. As seductive as Kitiara is, as a young girl, I was inspired watching the growth of Laurana.
Oh.
So it is very much a thing where Laurana starts off being an elven princess and she runs away from her family to join Tanis when they're going to, free some slaves. And she's not prepared. She doesn't take any equipment. She's naive to the whole world. And when she gets separated from Tanis, she thinks he's dead and she's about to just give up on life. But just through the series of events, she really becomes a lot more confident in herself and realizes she has these skills as an emissary and also knows how to, fight with a sword. And she just becomes a really competent character and has a huge growth arc. So
If there's one word that I think describes my husband's interest in fictional characters, competence.
It's a good one.
For anything. For anything, really.
yeah, I want to talk about lame ass. Sorry, Tika Whalen. You are a barmaid.
Oh.
I mean, she's a nice lady, but I don't think I could talk about her for an hour.
That's fair.
I get that. Are there any interesting facts about Kitiara or the book?
About the series in general or Kitiara?
A mix of both.
I'm not too sure if I can think of any that aren't going to spoil it. I think people...
We already said spoilers are not relevant in this show.
Right. Any cool facts about the series or Kitiara?
Yeah, or something funny. Like something that could be unrelated to, but could make it...
Yeah. I'm going to say if people want this, there's a little bit of something unique for everyone. There is the Tanis Half Elven, who is more rigid in his morals, although he fluctuates between the two sides of him, the elven and the humans that won't accept. Both of them who won't accept him. Mm-hmm. There is the cynical young mage who wants to do anything for power. There's the grumpy old dwarf who still has feelings. There's Kender, which are like halflings. And there's this one guy named Tasselhoff, and he is so funny. He steals everything and does not know, oh, where'd you find that? Oh, I don't know. Something must have put it in my pocket. Right? And he's so genuine and just curious about everything. I think that if you just like reading fantasy stories about cool characters, then that's it. And there is depth to it and how the whole story gets built of Takesis, he returned, and then there's the return of the good gods to kind of combat it. And
yeah, it sounds super cool. And the female characters sound really interesting too, and it sounds like there's a nice difference between like the two main ones that you've talked about, is that there's more stories to tell than just a lot of the normal stories that we get where it's like tragic or like purely evil. It's like there is depth and there's interest, and it doesn't necessarily matter based on gender, but it sounds like the two stories are really, really interesting. And maybe you can come back and talk about the other girl.
Sure.
another date.
Laurent Thalassa.
Look, oh, I go.
That's her elven name.
But, oh no. No, okay.
Tanis' elven name is Tantalus. But it's shortened to Tanis.
Okay.
Lots of THs in elven names in these books.
Okay, well, Adam, is there anything you would like to plug? Anything you're excited about?
No, I don't want to plug anything.
Literally.
I'm excited for...
just plug these books.
I'm plugging these books. Check out the first one of the series, Dragons of an Autumn Twilight. I can lend you it if you want it, if you're interested.
He's talking to Allison, not you, dear listeners.
Allison, you can borrow one if you're interested. Because I do have them all on my bookshelf upstairs.
Nice.
And if I'm excited for something, I think our last session of D&D was actually quite fun. I'm excited to plan for that. I think I'm a better DM than maybe some people expected, or I expected. So.
Yeah. Dear listeners, Adam is our DM for our IRL game that Allison and I are in.
Yeah.
And I would agree.
It's super fun.
Agree. You're doing a great job. Do you want to do the voice for Allison's homunculus familiar?
Hey, my name's Kit.
Also named Kit.
Also named Kit. No relation to Kitiara. Nice. Okay. Well.
Speed run, yeah. See, this is under an hour compared to Nick. So 3 hours.
Okay. Is this supposed to be a jab at Allison's significant other?
Yes.
Oh no.
Nick thinks different. He's got an artist's brain. It is all over the place.
Yeah, Adam has an accountant's brain. It's
Yes.
very like, I need to go logically.
Just organized and logical.
I did have to reorder things to make it more logically sensical.
Logically sensical. Logic sensical.
Hey, you guys wanted to... Here's, as I was researching her, I found this art of her, which is a cosplay, and it is insane.
Ooh.
You'll probably appreciate that.
I would like to. Mm-hmm. If we can find who the cosplayer is, then I'll include it in picture stuff.
Tabitha Leons?
Oh.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Look at the helmet.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Wow.
That's very cool, though.
That is ridiculous, and I love it.
Definitely fits the dragon armor theme.
Does, for sure. She looks incredibly intimidating.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, it was so funny. I was on the walk for Son. I was just, maybe there's something about YouTube on it. So I've looked her up and listened to this guy who was going on a rant about Kitiara versus Lorana. And he was talking like, why is this even something that we are talking about? Listen, you got Lorana. She's talking about being beautiful. She comes from a rich family. She's super young even for elf standards. You're literally comparing this hot young elf babe to a woman, to a human woman who's middle-aged, has 2 children. It looks like she should be dating Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
And he's like,
No shade.
Yeah, yeah.
Conan's got a bod.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I like his women, but yeah, and he just kind of goes on to like, and listen, she's evil. You got to realize this. They disappeared for 5 years. She comes back. You don't just like get a job, Dragon Highlord, right? You got to do some shady shit just to even get an interview. Listen, it's not like you become a crip, then become a gangbanger. You kind of gotta like. It goes the other direction, right? Oh, I laughed so hard listening to this guy talk about it.
And well, he has a point. People have this like this tendency to compare like if there are 2 like main female characters, and it's one of those like unfortunate things because we have so little main female characters. When there are like 2 large ones, it's like they're like, we have to compare them and they have to be like the same and we have to pick one, like who's better. It's like they can both be cool and they can both be different and it's fine. Like
Exactly.
one doesn't have to win in air quotes. I mean, kind of one does, but
And one did.
yes,
Obviously. One was abandoned to die, and one was married.
yes, and lived happily ever after. It's fine.
One had a dragon army, though.
That's true.
Yeah. But I think that mainly they were so contrasty because this was Tanis, who's the main character, and there's his human side. So you follow the passions with Kitiara, where they spend 3 days laying in bed, right? Whereas there's Lorana, who's very much so attached to his elven side, which is naive and doesn't want to go out in the world because they have that patience. And all the characters evolve as they go, but I think it was just really meant to contrast his struggle between the two worlds.
Interesting.
That's something that comes up a lot in fantasy when it comes to half-elves. They can never seem to fit between either. But everyone fucking plays a half-elf. And if I'm thinking of everyone in the world that's ever played a half-elf, there has to be just a city of half-elves.
There seems to be a lot.
Right? Like, at some point, from all fictional things, whether it's canon or your own homebrew D&D game, I just imagine half-elves probably encompass a big portion. And so, therefore, they have their own community, and they no longer have to pick between the two because they and themselves can accept themselves.
I think Tanis is the only half-elf in the series.
Well, fuck that!
I was saying, then you got like Aragorn, because he's like I don't know if he's like racially half elf, but he was like raised by elves. I've only seen I've technically read the books. I've listened to the Lord of the Rings books a long time ago. Those are some long ass books. Hobbit, perfection. Lord of the Rings books weren't super my thing. If I hadn't have been listening to them, I don't know if I could have gotten through them. I actually think he described a forest for 3 pages. It was a lot.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's why I got into Dragonlance instead of Tolkien.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Well, so thanks, Adam, for telling us about why you love Kitiara.
Thanks, badass bitches.
You're welcome. Does she have a last name?
Uth Matar.
Uth Matar. Uth Matar. Am I saying it?
Yeah. UTH space MATAR.
UTH space? Shit.
Yeah, it's 3 words.
Okay. Kitiara Uth Matar.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You did
awesome. Thank you for telling us what you're excited about, for plugging the books, for being here. I know it took you a lot to want to find a character to talk about, so thank you for doing that.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Adam, you started us off. Do you want to end the podcast with our little ending spiel?
Whoever isn't in charge of talking about a specific character for the episode will have a chance at the end to say something that they're excited about. No, that's not what you want.
Do you from here?
The blue part.
the second blue dot.
Hey, you can find us wherever podcasts can be found. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Wench Bench Pod. And if you want to reach out, you can send us an email at wenchbenchpod@gmail.com. All the art for the Wench Bench was designed by the wonderful Tessa Joyce Riecken. And you can find her on Twitter and Instagram at Werevile. Thanks for listening, and talk to you soon.
Bye.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Where did 2021 go?
I don't know.
We're in it.
We're in it?
We're in 2021.
We are in 2021.
You're an accountant. Where did the numbers go for 2021?
They were laundered.
What does that mean?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like when people launder money?
They did not report 2021 as income.
Oh no. That makes so much sense.
Oh, wait, we can cut everything out if I stumble words.
Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah, you can just say, "Oh, Allison, give me a second." Like you
Allison.
can just make a pause.
Yes.
I don't need any seconds.
Allison. Edit this out.